So welcome to the workshop. Actually, Sally's just signed in. Sally, hi, good to see you on the call. It's the art of letting go, and the reason I chose this particular subject is because I find this challenge shows up a lot, and it doesn't matter whether you're a business owner, you're an executive, a manager, a leader, you're in an organization or in your own organization. Letting go of jobs, roles, and other people's jobs, if you like, is a key strategy for success. For those people who are on the call that maybe don't know us that well, they've got a couple of new faces on the call that you'll all meet in the breakout rooms. Just to let you know, this is where we are. We are based over here in sunny France, right on the German border, so we can see the German border literally just over there out of the back garden. It's about 1 kilometer away. So we're here, little tiny French village. Offices in Luxembourg and offices over in Swindon as well. And we have clients now in 34 countries all over the world, providing coaching, training, and business co-pilot services, as you know. Now, when I thought about this subject, how to bring this subject to life so it becomes an interesting discussion point, I've referred back to a book that I was given donkeys years ago, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Rob Kiyosaki. Fabulous book. I recommend it. It's worth a look. I thought it was an amazing book until I realized that it wasn't true. It was made up. So that took a bit of the gloss off it for me, but the principles are absolutely fine. It's sort of a pity it wasn't a true story, that was all. But the cash flow quadrant model I'm going to briefly run through is the sort of framework for this discussion, and also give some of the trigger points of why we need to consider that, letting go and enabling other things to happen around us. So the principle of the cash flow quadrants is this: that we have 4 states of being in business, and many of us start off as employed. Somebody else employs us, and then we get a salary, we work really hard, and for some of us then we go into what is called self-employed status. I mean, we did the S quadrant. Now, a lot of people stay in self-employed status, and what I mean by that is when they deliver all the products and services themselves, they're independent, and it can happen to, from in any business sector at all, you can be self-employed. Where we want to move towards, and this doesn't matter whether you're in an organization or run your own business. So if you're a senior executive, for example, you want to be a business owner, you want to own the business department and division you're working in. So the same mindset applies. But we want to go to business owner quadrants. Now, a business owner has a business that runs effectively without their direct daily involvement. They live on the profits of the business that runs, but they don't have to go there every day. They're not just selling their time for money. They are running a business. It is paying them, it is supporting them, and they have a business owner. And after that, we have the investor quadrant. So then when your business is running for you, the profits you take from your business or your business interests, rather than spend it, you invest it, and then the investments feed you rather than the profits from the business. And in terms of taxation, the taxation burden gets less the further around these quadrants you go. So investors pay less tax percentage-wise than employees. In fact, employees probably pay the highest percentage or proportion of tax of any of the 4 quadrants. So there is a benefit to being an employee: safety, security, regular income. The downside is you're going to pay a lot of tax because you're highly visible. As we move through into self-employed, it gets slightly easier with some expenses we can charge. And if you get stuck on this, speak to Aaron about your expenses, what you can charge and what you can't charge. And then as you move to business owner quadrants, then the business is feeding you through profitability or taking dividends and everything like that. The biggest challenge for most people in business, because I've been there myself, is this one: going from what is self-employed to business owner. Because the break from self-employed is like a mindset shift. But on the left-hand side, those numbers just popped up. 90% of the people in the world are on that left-hand side of the quadrants. They're either employed or self-employed. 90% of the people only own or represent 10% of the wealth in the world. On the other side, business owners and investors, only 10% of people are actually business owner investors, and yet they control 90% of the wealth in the world. So you can see the real imbalance. I'm not defending it, it's a statement of fact. But in terms of wealth creation, in terms of sort of tax efficiency, but in terms of wealth, in terms of time, and in terms of money, in terms of assets and building a relevant asset base for yourselves, we've got to go away from self-employed to business owner quadrant. So what I'm going to talk about now is some of the hurdles I find people they trip up on when they attempt to go from self-employed to business owner quadrant. And there are 5 personality types that I'm going to run through for you. Now, this is not pointed at anybody on the call, but for all of us, we've all got a little bit of these personality types. You may recognize it in yourselves. You may recognize it in the people around you, because for a business to thrive and grow, you have to have people who are thinking entrepreneurially in the team as well. So you may recognize some of these either for yourselves, your colleagues, or people in your team as well. But these are the 5 personality types that I've recognized that holds people back. So the first one is what I call the performer. And in my career, pre-business coaching, I've both been entrepreneur, business owner, and director and CEO, and I've seen these type of personalities with my colleagues, and I see it with my clients now as well, doing what I do. Now, the performer is the person who is on stage. They are the center of attention. They are the rock star. They're the life and soul of the party, and they really struggle to allow other people to do things for them, because they are the personality, they are the performer, and the weakness they have is actually, in a harsh term, is narcissism. They want this adulation, they want applause, they want to look good in front of their team. Therefore, they do everything. In fact, they don't really hire, and Kevin and I were talking about this earlier in the week, they don't hire a team, they hire an audience. And they have an audience of people who are all stood around watching while they do their thing. They do the sales, they do the marketing, they do the delivery, they do everything. Now, what it means is they tend to do a lot more hours. They're doing everything at the same time. They're doing a lot more stress, and the team is stood around watching them do it. But they like it. They don't realize, but they actually like it. They don't realize that they like that, because it gives them that sort of adoration that they're craving. And they tell me about it. I've seen it in other people as well. They say, well, my team, they don't know what to do. All they do is watch me. I have to do everything in the business. But actually, it's like a little mini drug for them. So the challenge for these people is that when they look at how they're handing things over and systemizing a business, because their value is significance. They value significance and status in front of others. And that's a very powerful motivator to not let go of jobs, not to systemize and structure and delegate. If you are, I'm not suggesting anybody on the call is, but if anybody has a narcissistic streak and they want significance, the last thing they're going to do in their own business is delegate and get other people to do the things they want them to do, because it just doesn't fit, doesn't work for them. So the strategy to overcome that, if people are a performer, is what I call fame, but not fame within the organization, fame on the outside of the organization. And I recognize this, generally for me, this is a little bit of a trait that I've got. I'm not exactly high on the narcissistic scale, but I recognize this for myself. So when we came to France from the US and started this business, Lynn's job was to make me famous, not in the business, because there's only Lynn and John and a couple of people in the business anyway, but make me famous outside of the business. And so for me, I like to have external validation, external feedback. I don't get it, or don't want to get it, from my team. I'm great at delegating, because if I delegate, it allows me to have more visibility, fame, with people outside the business. So if I'm working with somebody who's a performer, I want to get them on a different stage, a bigger stage that enables them or forces them to delegate within the organization to allow them to go and play on a big stage. So you may recognize this for yourselves, or maybe in other people around you, but being a performer, it's a very, very strong motivator, very strong driver. And all these 5 personalities I'm talking about, they blend. It's not just there's one or the other. They all mix together to a certain extent. The performer is a particularly interesting one, because it tends to happen when people they have an art or a particular skill or a particular creative streak, and they don't allow anybody else in on the party, if you like, and it shows up. And the excuses they would use, of course, well, nobody can do it like I can do it. I have to lead the team through it. I am the expert. I'm the only person. Now, if they're the only person that can do this thing, this job, this role, there's no scalability. So it really holds them back in terms of going from self-employed to business owner. The second personality type, is the superhero. And I know I've got sort of super one on here, gender non-specific, all these things. It applies equally to guys and gals. It's the same thing applies. There's no particular trends here. But the superhero is the person that, just fixes everything. They swoop in, and they have the weakness they have is they are superior. They believe themselves to be superior to other people. Nobody can do it like I do it. I swoop in, I fix things because people are broken, systems are broken, it's no good. They need me around to fix this thing because I'm the only person that can do it. So they don't look for adoration from their team. They're not performers particularly, but they are fixers, and they need to fix. In fact, what these people will do at the extreme level, because I do recognize this back in my career when I was doing sort of troubleshooting in an industrial group, I would be going into a company that was failing and had to sort it out to go and fix it. That was my job. So I'd go in there and sort it out, look at the numbers and the sales and the team, this sort of thing. But what I found was, and because I was picked up on this by my chairman, I've told this little story before, after doing about 8 or 9 broken companies, and we fixed all of them bar one, we shut one, but we won most of them. They asked me to go down to Bristol in the UK and run a company there that was doing okay. My job there was to build and grow and develop and expand it. So that was great. I earned the stripes. After about 6 months of being there, the chairman came to see me, and he sat me down. And he said to me, "Stop setting fire to things." So what do you mean setting fire to things? He said, "You're a Mr. Fix It." He said, "But when something's broken and damaged, then you're great. You get in there, you can sort it, you fix it, you fight for it, you get on with it, you create something amazing. That's a real gift that you've got." He said, "This company isn't broken." He said, "But what you're doing is you're breaking it so you can fix it." I was creating fires. I was creating damage so I could go in there and be the superhero. So again, I recognize this for myself. So superiority is a key trait here. The value they value fixing things, and therefore they think that things are broken, or they make things broken, or they perceive things as being broken, so they can swoop in and fix everything for everybody. But of course, that's a huge limitation then, because if they're continually breaking things or believing things are broken or need fixing, it can't be scaled and it can't be grown. Hugely frustrating for a team of people working with one of these type of people, because if they have no confidence and belief in the team, they lose all from motivation straight away, because you'll fix it for them. Another trait of these people, and I do see this a reasonably regular, it's an entrepreneurial trait, is that a business owner, entrepreneur, senior manager or director will be very strong, supportive, and they'll guide their team and they'll fix things for their team to make sure everything's going well. One of the dangers here, that if you or I or anybody is very, very strong for an individual, because we're strong for them, it actually makes them weak, because they're not having to perform. They can stand back and you're going to fix it for them. This is great. It doesn't matter what happens. They can stand back, let you do it, and they don't grow, they don't develop. In fact, they just wander off. And then we lock ourselves into this superhero fixing stuff all the time, and scalability can't work, growth can't happen, and we definitely can't go to the business owner quadrant, because we're fixing all these mythical broken things from time to time. The strategy to combat this is growth. Force growth on them, because if somebody has got time to go and fix things, well, then get them to focus on something else. Fix growth, fix scalability, fix an acquisition strategy, fix a franchising strategy. Fixing is a good thing, but give them something else to go and fix, not their existing play set, something else. So what I would attempt to do with these type of people is get them to step away from their existing business and go and fix the opportunity, the next one. Give them a bigger challenge to go for, and they won't look over the shoulder. The business is behind them, it's fine anyway, but they stop fixing it. They still fix, but they fix the opportunity rather than the backstory for themselves as well, which is much more positive. So that's how you get to that business owner growth and scalability, when you have a sort of superhero complex. The next one is another classic, if you may recognize this, the perfectionist. I see this a lot. It's not one of mine. I don't have this. Those who work with me on the DISC profile system will know that you have dominance, influence, stability, compliance. I have reasonably very low S, no stability on my personality at all. A little bit of C, I can do a bit of compliance, but I'm much more on the D and the I side of it. So this personality, perfectionism, I don't really get it. Lynn, however, does, thank goodness, because she compensates well for me. Now, the challenge for a perfectionist is, and they will use these words, I want to get it right. I want to make sure that it's perfect before it's launched, or before I launch a document or release a piece of marketing or do whatever I do. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be correct. It's got to be within congruent with my values, my vision, and all this sort of thing, whatever. Which is good. A little bit of that is good. The challenge with the downside of perfectionism, of course, is that nothing happens, because what's perfection in their mind, two things, is not perfect, can't be perfect, never seen a perfect thing, and is not perfect in the eyes of the beholder either, because the clients and prospects, they have a different filter for perfection. But perfectionists, they slow down, they want to check everything and cross-check it, they procrastinate, they think too much, they do too much detail, they go back and they rewrite things because one word is out of place or something like that. Now, if you're a doctor, or you're doing code, or you're a technician, great, there's a place for that. But when you're looking at business ownership, business development, and growth and scalability, perfection's not the thing we're aiming for. What we're aiming for, and this is going to send all the high S, high C profile people nuts on the call, we're looking for good enough, not perfect. It's got to be good enough. In the garden, you'll see pictures on Facebook and LinkedIn. We're moving there's a gate that opens on directly onto a road, a little lane at the back. The doors open, the gates open directly onto the road. Open the gates, you get killed by a tractor coming past. So we're moving the gates. We're going to build a new entrance to the garden. And John, my lad, who does all our marketing for us, he's quite a perfectionist. And we're putting these posts in the ground, concrete wooden posts to build this framework around, trying to get them vertical. It's a 3-foot hole, 8-foot post, vertical, this sort of thing. So we're in there, dug the hole, cement's all in, positioned them all up. And he said these magical words, which I've been trying to indoctrinate him with. And he's got the spirit level on the side of this post. And I said, is it, I'm going to screw it to the frame, get it level. And I said, how are we doing? Are we okay? And he said, yeah. He said, it's good enough. We're not building a satellite. It's like, this is great. It's good enough. We're not building a satellite. None of us are building satellites or rockets or anything like that. So what it's got to be is good enough. So the perfectionist, the real weakness of a perfectionist, if there's a weakness in it, is fear of failure or fear of negative feedback. I know, Kev, you sent me an email this morning. I think you had some feedback from one of your workshops, for example. Just delete, shred, send the boys round. The man's an idiot. But anyway, but they fear of failure, because if it's not perfect, it might go wrong. It might be thought of as not doing a good enough job or something like that. The values that they have are predictability. So a perfectionist wants predictability. That's why they want it to be perfect, so they can predict the future. How will it be perceived? How will it work? What's the outcome going to be? And they have that predictability need. Well, in business, what's predictable? If you think back to early 2020, how's your 2020 plan worked out for you during 2020 and 21? It got blown out the water like it did for all of us. So predictability is a key value, and we all want the predictability to a degree, but the strategy to overcome that is risk. Is to take a risk. And what I would do for doing what I do, I tend to push people to take a bit of a risk, low-level background risks. Take a bit of a risk, learn that uncertainty is okay, learn that predictability is actually a myth, and that good enough is good enough. It hasn't got to be perfect. And it increases the whole pace of things and enables then delegation to happen. Because if you're a perfectionist, I guarantee the view of your team will be, they can't do it like I do it. I'm the only one that can do it. I can't delegate. And you tie yourself back in to being this self-employed person. Self-employed people, by the way, can be at the center of multi-million-pound organizations. It's a mindset thing. So it's not a size, it's a mindset thing. So get used to some sort of risk. Is the way to do it, and I push people through it. So if you see this for yourselves in terms of your need for perfection, it will slow you down. It will slow you down a little bit. The way to overcome it is take small risks. I don't mean gambling risks, small risks. Do something on social media that's a little bit different, a bit unusual, a bit strange. See what feedback you get. Gamble with something in your business, not that's going to bet the farm on it, but get used to relaxing a bit. I'm the opposite extreme, if anything. I don't have any. I don't have fear of failure. I have fear of not moving. I think moving targets are harder to hit. So at the pace I run at is quite fast, and Lynn has to slow me down a little bit. So it's a balancing act. But watch out for the perfectionist. It can be really, really debilitating. Number 4 is a saboteur. Now, this personality type, it shows up, I think, more in larger companies. I've seen it more in larger companies where you get somebody who is a leader, a boss, a manager, a director, or something like that, and they want to hold on to power and control and authority, and they do that by not allowing anybody else to shine bright. And what they will do, because I've experienced it when I was working at the airport up in Heathrow, that organization, a couple of these people in there at the senior level as well. And what they would do, they would sabotage people in the team. And what I would mean is they would, little simple things, they would forget to invite them to a meeting so they couldn't show up and couldn't prepare for it. They would just drop out a couple of comments, negative comments, to undermine their confidence and and they sabotage them, which means that their performance is reduced, and the person doing it, they look good because by comparison to underperformers, they shine brighter. And you'd be surprised how this can work. Now, there's two sides to sabotage. There's the actual, sabotaging a person or a system or a structure, absolutely, but also there's self-sabotage as well. A lot of people will self-sabotage. People think their fear of failure, for example. I don't think it is fear of failure. Actually, it can be. I think it can be fear of success, because success is more unknown. We know what failure tastes like. We know it. We know what it looks like. We've all been there. Everybody's failed at something. Of course we have. I think apart from Dirk, actually, I think Dirk has not failed at anything. Anyway, but I'm joking. But we know what failure tastes like. We understand it. We're okay with it because it's not unpredictable. Success, however, is unpredictable. And when we see success coming towards us, we have to change our mindset around money or colleagues or friends or whatever it is. That's uncertain. We don't like it. We will self-sabotage as well. We just do something. We don't go to the meeting. We don't do the presentation. We just do something that undermines our progress so we can stay safe in our comfort zone. Now, if that applies to you, you may recognize this for yourselves or certainly people around you. There are a couple of ways through it. The challenge with a saboteur is they work on win-lose. They win, somebody else loses, or even they lose and somebody else wins if they sabotage, because it's a bizarre sort of psychosis that some people have. They want to lose so they get the support from being the victim, which we'll come on to in a second or two. So the weakness is win-lose rather than win-win. They value superiority. They want to be in control and in charge. That's what they value. Therefore, they undermine other people around them so they can't shine brighter. The strategy for it to overcome this, in my experience, and I'm not particularly a psychologist, but to overcome this particular trait, it's build their confidence. Bullies or saboteurs have low confidence, low self-esteem, or lower, and they bring other people down below their level of their own self-esteem, which is how they operate. That's why they sabotage people. So if I find anybody operating like this, and it does happen in my experience into larger organizations, because saboteurs can hide in big companies, you can't really hide in a small company. If I got somebody like that, I work on their confidence, personal beliefs, values, mindset, attitude, because once they build their own confidence to a high enough level, then they will bring other people with them to that level and allow them to surpass as well. So really, if you find a saboteur or you find yourself, there are some people I've come across in my career, I'd happily sabotage. Even now, I don't do revenge, but I do bear a grudge, my goodness. Anyway, so sabotage can be a very powerful thing, but if you find it in yourself, check on confidence, check on your level of belief in yourself and values and how you perceive yourself in the world as well. Very, very confident people, they may have the performer trait or the superhero trait, but they don't have sabotage. They very rarely sabotage. They just do it another way if you're not very careful. So that's the 4. Confidence is the key there. The 5th one, and this shows up for all sorts of people, is the victim mentality. And this is where I can sense this when I speak to people about their future, their goals, their dreams, their visions, their aspirations. And they will say things like, I can't. I'm too young. I'm too old. That won't work. I'm not ready. I don't like that. Or we tried that in 1945 and it didn't work. Now, anything, all these sort of little mini excuses come out. I can tell in their languaging if they're being the victim or they're happy being the victim of their circumstances. Because what they look for then is support. You know, woe is me. I need help and support, and life is awful. And they get that significance from other people to support them on their victim journey. But it's the words that people use, and I've seen this a number of times when the language changes to can do, will do, positivity and potential and opportunity, the victim mentality disappears. Guess what happens? I don't know, Chris, you and I were on a call on Monday, and it was a group call, and one of the guys who was on the call, doesn't matter who it is, one of the guys on the call was saying, well, you know, of course, the UK economy at the moment, it's really bad. There's a lack of confidence in the economy. People aren't spending money. They're hoarding. They're not going to be investing. And he was really, my goodness, wow, because for him, he was being the victim of all these circumstances around him. But what was really interesting on the call was that everybody else was saying, well, that's not true. My belief, my vision is that things are good. Markets opening up. We're getting new people coming on board, new clients, new customers coming in. Our retention levels are great. We're making more money. And a number of people are having best ever months. I know some people on the call here having best ever months. Well, it starts with mindset and attitudes. If you've got a victim mentality, you know, I'm beaten, I'm not worthy, I can't do it, I need help and support, everything's broken. Well, guess what? You're going to attract the wrong type of support. So the victim mentality is basically, the weakness is self-belief, because it takes a bit of nerve to stand up and go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to win through this thing. I'm going to fight on, and I'm going to dominate it. So self-belief is the key. What they value, however, is attention, but they get attention from elsewhere. So they get attention for being the victim. So if you hear somebody who's in victim mode, you know what they're like. They're bitching and moaning, complaining all the time. Be careful what attention you give them, because that's what they crave. Now, what I would do to adapt that is give them the attention they crave, but from a more positive scenario, from a micro win. So I've a number of client stories. You know some of these people, some of the wins they've had, and I'm going to talk about Sam with the yacht. Sam's not with us today on the yacht on the call, because she's on her yacht. I think she's going around the Isle of Wight at the moment, or there's monitoring a race or something like that. She's spending a month on her yacht. And it wasn't that she didn't have any, no victim mentality at all, but it shows the power that when she decided what she wanted, I want a yacht, I want to spend a month on it, have a holiday with my husband and travel around. And that positivity means that that's what she got. So she gets attention for that win now. I think most people know Sam. Great, send her a message. So if I've got somebody who has got the victim mentality, I need to get them the attention they crave from something positive, not from being the victim. So give them a small win, little tiny goal, do this, win it, tick off, bigger goal next month. And eventually they get their confidence back, the self-belief goes up, they get attention and significance from positive outcomes rather than negative outcomes, and they start to get more success and move in from that self-employed business owner quadrant. Because what we're talking about really is our ability to build, grow, and develop a business. And the two keys we've got to do through all this is productize what we do, put our service, our product into something that people can buy, and then systemize it so other people can sell it, grow it, and develop it for us. Now, we can't do this if we're doing it all ourselves. So if you find or recognize one of these 5 traits for yourself, or maybe you've got 2 or 3 of them. I've done all 5 in my career. I know I have in certain degrees. I recognize it in myself from time to time, and I've learned how to adapt and overcome as well. I have to learn to get through some of these things. You may recognize one or more for yourselves, but also in your teams as well. So it looks to grow and build and develop. The real key is allow to productize what you do, and then systemize it so other people can deliver it for you while you're sat on your yacht going around the Isle of Wight, if that's your goal, your vision, and the business. And interesting with Sam, we're not going through any numbers or anything like that, but we had a call about 2 weeks ago while she was on the yacht, and we had the results came in for the previous month for June. And while she's been on her yacht, best ever month in the company's history. And it was a real, which is fabulous. So congratulations to Sam. And that's not because she's on a yacht, but what it's proven, I think, is that for Sam, that she can not be in the business 100%. She's got a fabulous team. She trained them well. She's guided them, and she's looking after herself as well on the yacht and having the best month ever. I sense, looking at the KPIs, without all the numbers, but the KPIs is that this month will be best ever again while she's been on the yacht. So that's the power of these sort of things. But you've got to productize and systemize, let go, and watch out for any of these personality traits that may come along to sort of sabotage you or trip you up as you go along. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up the breakout rooms, I should say. I'm going to invite you into them. So I'm going to put 3 groups, be 3 groups of 3 people. That's okay. And just have a discussion for about 15, 20 minutes. What do you need to let go of? What do you recognize? What traits in yourself? What do you need to let go of? What do you need to start doing? Or how do you need to adapt your behavior such that you can increase your movement from maybe self-employed through to business owner, either mindset wise or financially as well? So what do you need to let go of? I'll start the breakout rooms. Just one second. I'm going to pause recording as well. Okay, we're pausing now.